all come to me to live your fantasies. And just like the bats, you're spreading my disease.
It's been a while.
It certainly has. It certainly has. It's been at least a year, hasn't it?
A little over a year and a half. I think the first time we talked was in December, which was
right.
Yeah, shortly after.
When everybody was yelling at us to be like, "Oh, hey, do more songs from Saint Anger."
And I was like, no. I want you guys.
We were like, no, too. Don't you worry.
One song is good. I mean, you guys blew it out of the water, but like I told you when we talked last time, I feel like your material is phenomenal on its own. You don't really need a teaser, at least not in my eyes, to get where you want to get to. I think for you guys, it's just keep putting the music out, keep touring, keep coming up with your new stuff. Because to me, it's your music is very imaginative, and I think I said it before. Is every song has a lot of moving parts. There's tempo changes, there's mood changes. I don't know if it's, and we'll talk about it in a little bit here. I don't know if it's by accident. I don't know if it's by design. So
it's a combination of being on the spectrum and ADHD is what it is.
But that works. I mean, hey, you use what you have and you turn something beautiful into it, or something, maybe beautiful isn't the word, artistic, I don't know, aggressive. But then there's so much stuff in every song. I mean, if you look at Incarceration Proclamation, the beginning of that song is fucking beautiful. And then it grows into something that's a lot more aggressive. So,
and that beauty is destroyed.
So here's
the question.
Beautiful,
you died. You're 27.
Here's a question. Here's the first question that has to do with the album. What did you do different? Because there's some different stuff on this compared to Beautiful Nightmares. Did you just take a different approach? What was the changes that you decided to do coming into this one?
Most importantly, we did it entirely ourselves this time.
Yeah, no, like considering the nature of the pandemic, considering like just in general, like where we all were with our lives and like how like we thought the process should be. It was something that, to be honest, like sans the covers, like everything for the Hypnotic Disasters EP, the original tracks were all recorded in our homes. It was something that we had equipment for, that we acquired. Some of us already had that equipment, mostly this guy here on my right. But basically, it's to say that like we took it on ourselves to try different things and do it ourselves.
and by the way, since this is just audio, the guy on his right is Daniel.
Yeah, but point being, well, we can't all be like audio professionals over here. But point being is that it was a very hands-on like process that taught us a lot about just in general, like producing music ourselves. Which going from like my old like bands, like just doing stuff on GarageBand, it's definitely a much bigger undertaking, and that was something that, like, to see how it turned out, I was pretty happy.
Yeah, I would say the thing about the production of Hypnotic Disasters is that we had a lot of songs we were actually going into the studio for, and we had intended to release something in 2021, way back in like 2019, and we were getting ready to do that. And then 2020 suddenly happens, and we all know what happened there. And the thing was, everything we had done before was sort of collaborative. It was in a studio environment. We always had an engineer that worked with us on it, and we handled very little of what went into actually making all of our previous records. So when the pandemic occurred, suddenly that process of how we used to make music became like 10 times more slow and tedious.
Yeah.
And more expensive.
To the point where it was not even worth all of the effort to do it that way anymore. So it was kind of like, with the way people have already been doing home studios in their bedroom, we kind of felt like this is just the way the future's going for every band out there. You kind of either just put up or shut up, you know?
Yeah.
Now, listeners at home, you heard it here. We went bedroom prog.
What about the writing process? Was everybody included, or
Yeah.
bits and pieces?
Yeah, so for this one we did it differently in the sense that like when it came down to Beautiful Nightmares and Dark Matter, the songs on those records had been like, you know, composed the intent of, oh, these are what the 10 songs are going to be. It's like this, we're going to improve on these, make them the best possible songs they could be. And there's positives and negatives to that. I mean, we definitely X and I have differing opinions about certain songs, but we can all agree about one of them. But regardless of that fact, what we did this time was we put it upon ourselves to each make 3 songs and bring them to the group. And in that regard, like the material on the EP was chosen from the material that was, as we perceived it, the best of that writing that we did. But because of that, and because we wanted to have the covers in a format where people could own them and access them and like have that be a major selling point, we knew that we were only going to get 3 originals, so we had 12 songs. Well, actually we had 9 songs to choose from. That's right.
Yeah, we had 3 songs that we delivered each, technically in a vacuum, I'm going to say that.
Yeah.
We each wrote 3 songs, and each of us chose 1 song from the 3 that we wrote to go onto the EP. So it was more so just a matter of like amassing a bunch of tracks. Kind of the way I always heard about it was when making albums like you know, System of a Down's first album, or I think Californication by Red Hot Chili Peppers was an example. The way those albums were written back in those days is just that the bands would get together and write like a stupid amount of tracks that like over half of them would not be included in the record.
Yeah.
And it's just to say that you don't really actually get to where you want to be as a professional musician just by spending your whole entire life on one song, as much as you do by writing so often that you're just so second nature to the process of writing music that eventually it just becomes a habit of yours.
Yeah.
Then you start writing like really good tracks without even really thinking about it, because it's all you do. So we kind of wanted to jumpstart that creative process up again, because we kind of lost it over the long delay period that was going on because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And honestly, like the cool thing about that, I mean, like to kind of piggyback on like the long albums. I mean, like an album I like that I like was Sealers Holding on a String. Well, not Holding on a Strings. They're why is the name escaping me? It's got Like Suicide on it. Why am I not?
Like Suicide? That's the Finding Beauty in Negative Spaces.
Right. There we go. I said the wrong thing. Well, that record, reportedly, they had 60 ideas and they chose 12. Like,
Yeah.
So that's just, we didn't obviously go as expansive as that, but such is the way. And I mean, frankly, even with that, like, I still kind of feel like, well, there's a myriad of other material that folks probably aren't going to get to hear that actually wasn't terrible. I mean, I was proud of the other 2 songs I wrote, for example, but I know I'm not the only one who was.
One of them's got to make it, and that's the thing. It's not even that they were all bad. It's that just one of them was clearly better.
So this is something though where you can hold on to those songs, and when you revisit doing another EP or a full length album, you can also retool them and still possibly put
we
them
have
on
it
there.
tracked.
Yeah, no, like the cool thing about this EP is like all those songs did get tracked, and that's honestly what I found like nice about it is that if for whatever reason, you know, if our plans for album 2 get delayed further, like I kind of feel like just in general that like it's kind of an age that like, and I mean it's kind of an age where like taking like 3-4 years to put out an album just plain isn't enough.
I mean, we don't really know what we're going to do with that stuff just yet. There's been a lot of ideas.
Be right back.
Oh yeah, this is the good part. Just me. How about Daniel? You got anything?
Do I speak into the mic, or can you hear us from?
I can hear.
Yeah.
I can hear you just fine.
Awesome. How you doing?
Good, Daniel. How are you?
Glad to hear it. Pretty good myself. I'm a little tired, but I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I do have a question because, and this will include Daniel. When you said that everybody wrote 3 songs, did you guys all do words, music, and arrangement and everything, or was it just ideas and sounds?
I did not write any of the lyrics, but I definitely helped out with music. Some of the songs would start off with certain drum beats. We definitely would throwback ideas and such.
Yeah, we each had like our own specific designated songs where we would come up with a concept that we ourselves would create, but we would still collaborate with each other. And I think pretty much all 3 of the originals that ended up on the EP do have writing credits from all 4 of us.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, and plus, I mean, you're all part of the creation process as it is.
I mean, sometimes you just have an idea of what you want, but you really don't know what riff should go here or how the drums should go or what this lyrics should say there. And then you just sort of like talk to the other guys and then they'll probably have an idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's your seat. See, it's facing the wall so you can think about what you've done lately.
Oh yeah, I like this. I'm okay with this.
Leyland in the picture.
All right, turn around now.
Nope.
No, he's good. He's like, I've had enough. I'm good.
For all those listening at home, Leyland just arrived. Fresh out of law school.
I know.
Everybody welcome the only guy that gets shit.
Yep. Hello. I'm here. I have arrived. Let the shit giving commence.
OLG. Yes.
So, can I ask whose song was whose?
Certainly.
All right,
My
let's.
song is I'm the Grim Reaper.
Okay, and you know what's?
Sorry, what?
I was gonna say, you know what's funny is that does not surprise me, and I have no idea why. I just as soon as I started listening to the lyrics and the direction of the song, I'm like, wow, that sounds like All Out X. However, the intro voice doesn't sound like you normally. Did you change your tone for that, or for the vocals?
Intro? You mean the verses?
The vocals, like the actual sound of your voice, seems different on that than it does normally, or at least with most of the other tracks.
That's my lower.
It's called He Got Better. He sucks less now.
Oh,
You
I
took
got
your
some
voice
shit to say about
lessons.
You too. All right. How about rather than us telling you, why don't you guess who you think wrote each one?
Oh shit, that's gonna be bad. Should I say that Cyberocracy was Leyland?
You're incorrect.
Oh, I'm already bad. Which one was yours then?
Mine was the Incarceration Proclamation.
Oh, okay. And then I'm still gonna get them wrong. So Cyberocracy was Daniel.
No.
Yeah,
No,
I'm never gonna get it right.
Mine was Saint Anger.
Mine was Saint Anger. All right.
Actually, all 5 of them were me,
There you go.
I wrote the entire thing. These guys don't know what the fuck they're talking
including
about.
Dead Skin Mask,
Oh no, that
before I was born.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True story. I was there.
Right. Well, tell me a little bit about each song. Why don't we start with you, X, with Grim Reaper, the concept, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that song is based on a webtoon of the same name. It's a series that we actually sort of all read together, and I was a big fan of it at the time, so I even reached out to the creator and author asking if they would be cool with us doing a song like that. And they were into the idea a little bit until we sort of showed them the demo recording of that particular track. That was when she was actually like, wow, this is really cool. Okay. Yeah, just let me know and tag me on like Twitter and Instagram whenever you put that out there, and I'll share it with everybody. We haven't quite done it just yet because we actually are intending to do a video for it pretty soon. That's maybe when we'll start doing more with it. Other than that, it's basically just a good example of opening up the record on a song that kind of just teases each of the little elements that are going to be played for you at the entire rest of the way there.
Gotcha.
I always like the idea that the first track is one that just like encompasses everything.
I like that. I mean, it's an intro. It gets you going for the rest of the album. You're absolutely right. And it's tricky whenever you decide which song you want to put first. Well, and let me ask that, is there a specific order of the arrangement then? Or is it just the first song was the most important and then?
Well, I mean, we did do Saint Anger before we did any of that stuff, but the idea with Saint Anger wasn't initially gonna be on a record of any kind. It was
Yeah.
just that, you know, obviously with how much it blew up and people were really clamoring for it, it seemed like most people, if they were gonna get a new record from us, they would want it to have that song on it in particular.
I suppose, yeah.
So that one came first. We actually recorded Dead Skin Mask afterwards because kind of the idea there was that thanks to the pandemic, we were realizing that our next album wasn't going to be released as soon as we had hoped and that things were going way slower. Unfortunately, we found out also that we had run dry on like material that we weren't already intending for another release. Like no
Gotcha.
just scratch extra stuff. And that was a big part of the writing process. And this one is just saying we don't want to have that happen to us again. We want to make it so that, you know, worst case scenario, there's always at least something in the bank.
Yeah.
So a big part of Hypnotic Disasters is doing stuff like that. But I kind of like the idea that for I'm the Grim Reaper, it was less about trying to really make a statement this time around. And it was more just, what have we not done yet? And like, how weird and how far to the extreme can we go with it? To the point where you've got like an acoustic guitar right after like slam,
Yeah.
right in the middle of the song.
No, it's a good mix. I like it. All right, Leyland, tell me a little bit about Incarceration Proclamation.
Okay, so this one was just, so the whole writing of all the riffs, like I will be very honest, I didn't really have a general idea of what the hell I wanted or what I was doing.
You were just told to write.
you did, it just didn't work out.
Yes, it was very much like, okay, I've got some ideas I'm thinking about, but I don't know how to make them work. So
Yeah.
instead of writing 3 separate songs, I just wrote 3 1-minute songs and we put them together, basically.
Okay.
So, but for the lyric and the content of it, very much so, that was very much so the last thing we wrote for it, because it didn't really hit us until basically all the other instrumentation had come together.
Well, I wouldn't say us. That was definitely all on you there.
Okay.
What I kind of felt was that you had all of the ideas there. You had all the pieces. You were just really struggling to put them together.
Yeah.
So Scotty and I were just like, Leyland, just here. You don't have to make such a big deal about this. Just put these together right here. And then that kind of comes in. And then it's like, whoa, this works? I can actually write songs like yes.
I can do something productive.
You,
What
you
is
can
this
do
madness?
it. So like, I know when we put out that documentary, you were kind of saying that Scotty and I were basically responsible for writing a song for you, but I don't think that's the case.
I mean, the writing, no, but just helping, like, okay, Leyland, take a step back, put the pieces together. You have all the pieces here. We just need to figure out the order for them. So
Well, it's just essentially what it came down to was more like we just met up and I would play drums, Lee just played whatever he wanted. Essentially, we put it together. We like got it all down, so you have it later.
I think what
That's
I
more
remember.
what my role was.
I think what I remember is it was just like a lot of riffs. He would
Yeah.
just give us a shit ton of riffs, and then in the middle of showing us the new stuff he wrote, I'd be like, okay, so now you're gonna write that into a song, right? And he's like, yep. So then another week would go by. It's like, hey guys, I'm really struggling with this song. It's like, really, what's the problem? So I wrote more riffs, and I'm like, Leyland, that's enough riffs. You don't need to write more riffs.
So I wrote more shit.
And it was like you were trying to keep writing riffs until you could turn one of them into an entire song on its own. And I'm like, just what you have is plenty. That's all.
Well, and Leyland, if you think about it, you have the credit for writing. You just had assistance in arranging. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you can still say you wrote the song.
Yeah.
Okay.
And none of us could have lyrically come up with that. And that's the one thing we missed out on the documentary. You never actually got to say
Oh, that's
lyrically
right.
where you're coming from with that one, which is important because someone got it wrong.
It's very important because somebody. Okay, so the song is very like lyrically very political, of course. So the entire viewpoint of the song is supposed to be sung from the viewpoint of like a colonizing force, colonizing country, things like that. But it's also meant to sound like a child, very like I want. I only want this. Give me this. Give me this. And we drew very much so from different points in history, and then we kind of tried to like reflect that by what the drums were playing to kind of reference things. And then in the bridge is when it then turned into the other side of like the
conflict.
force, the people that were being colonized, like, hey, hold up one second, you've erased our entire history, what the fuck is happening? And then the song ends with it getting more and more chaotic, basically like, all right, this train is now going off its rails, we don't know where it's going to end up. And so there were lyrics at the very end that somebody had written a review, and they're like, we don't know how they stand politically, which we were also very much like, okay, so I guess we were like, okay, what would your racist uncle at Thanksgiving dinner say? And you're just like, wait, what would somebody who watches Fox News for 12 hours a day think of this?
more like Newsmax or freaking
Exactly.
OAN,
Exactly.
Dude, those lyrics were hard to write because
Yeah.
we've never actually written lyrics like that before that we so strongly don't believe in.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, okay, what? Yes, that's kind of the content it was.
Yeah, well, it's got to be hard to kind of reverse the song and sing it from a different point of view. I mean,
Mhm.
so, but yeah.
Oh, he's not the one singing it, luckily.
I'm not the one saying it, yeah. But also in the song I wrote, apparently all the rules we had set for, hey, no crowd vocals, no acoustic guitar,
Broke all of them.
I literally added everything we all agreed not to do into the song.
So we agreed not to do crowd vocals because since we were doing this all in our room, generally the way we used to do it is get in a big open area, invite all of our friends, have a party, and then kind of get into a choir position. And none of us have like the floor space for that or good enough recording equipment or acoustic treatment for that. And that just ended up being one of the things that Leyland was like, I can't really see writing this without crowd vocals.
Yeah.
Or acoustic guitar in the intro.
Yeah, we also didn't want to do acoustic guitar. Granted, I just got out of music production class, so I learned how to do it.
It's the only thing that's
But the thing was that recording electric we can do, but recording acoustic requires some actual expertise in how to like set up mics, which at the time of writing, we didn't have that yet. And then Leyland's just like, but I just love my acoustic, man. My Takamine.
So I wrote this acoustic riff. Leyland, fuck you.
Leyland, you were not supposed to do that. We specifically said no, damn it.
And the
I
third
explicitly ignored you.
And the third rule was not to do drum solos, mostly because everything on drums for the EP was actually tracked entirely on Daniel's electric kit.
Okay.
So what we kind of felt with that is without an acoustic being able to sort of widely vary the differentiations of each hit so that you're not just hearing like a machine gun snare, just the same sample over and over again. We felt like the drums should sort of be a more kind of background role for this one, simply so that it doesn't feel like you're hearing something overly fake.
Gotcha.
And drum solos would be the most obvious way in which you can tell, like, yeah, this is not an acoustic hit. This isn't real. Like, this is all bullcrap. So we were like, don't do drum solos in that case. It's not quite as impressive as it is on an acoustic. So then, of course, in that very beginning part where the instrumentals break away from the acoustic, slower, somber part, that whole thing is a drum solo. just a 1 4-bar long like drum fill that just never stops.
Yeah. Well, it's a good song. I mean, it's funny if he brought everything that you didn't want in it, but you put it in, that means it's pretty damn good.
Yeah, so like Leyland could still make the argument that he did it to push us into excellency or something.
No, absolutely not. I can't.
But he doesn't.
Straight face when I say that.
But he doesn't, because that would be the smart thing to do, but not what he wants to do.
I mean, it would be smart. I mean, I'm right next to him.
Yeah, it would be a lot smarter to just be all like, yeah, actually, I was doing it because I feel like we're not improving as musicians, and the whole thing's, no, I just didn't understand the assignment.
No, I just did not read the rubric.
Dude, you will like interrupt someone and be like, excuse me, it's because I'm dumb.
Excuse me, you're giving me credit where excellence is not due.
All right,
I'll have
Dan.
you know, I fucked up.
All right,
But I have
Daniel.
a lot of fun doing it.
All right, Daniel, let's talk about your song.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Stay in anger.
Oh, come on.
First obvious, the elephant in the room is obviously the snare sound. It's funny because I brought 2 snares for that recording. The
Yeah,
first snare
that's
we
right.
had, hold on. The first snare we had, everything sounded great except the actual snare wire itself was kind of busted, and that's something I just overlooked because I almost never played that snare. So I brought in the second one, but it didn't sound as good. So we ended up using the studio's snare drum, and that was probably the best sounding snare of the 3 at the time.
We even recorded it with the snares off.
Mm-hmm.
How many drums do you have? You have 2 snares?
I only play on 1 snare, but I have 2 snares at home. I usually use my smaller one, my 13-inch. It's kind of a piccolo snare, kind of not, but it's somewhere in between.
It's the size of a piccolo snare.
Probably, yeah.
You know what? I'm always amazed by drums because I feel like they're not always appreciated. But whenever I listen to a song, I always try to kind of tune everything out except for the drums because you know, when you're listening to the song over and over again, because people don't always, unless you're really digging into the music, I don't know if everybody always appreciates how much the drums offer. It's not just a beat. It's just like the bass. It's not just the rhythm. There's just so much more you can do with it. I think you've done it on all of these. It's pretty impressive, especially with the changes, with changing tempos and all. Like, you know, I've said it over and over again, how your guys' songs always have different movements to them. And that has got to be, from a drummer standpoint, pretty hard to navigate that and control that for everybody. Am I right? Or are you going to tell me, nah, it's easy?
So for me, it's easy. The other guys, I cannot speak. To that. No, really though. But yeah, that's something we have to fill in.
Honestly, dude, it's actually kind of true what he's saying though. Like when we first started the band, Daniel was like constantly saying, dude, can you guys like write something that's not 4/4 or something? Like he would constantly push these weird timings and these like very strange movements. And Leyland and I, when it was just the 3 of us, had to constantly like change our style of writing to actually catch up with Daniel. And when we eventually got there, Daniel's like, you know, I've kind of eased up on the drumming lately. I'm going more simplistic.
Very true. No, but for this EP, so for Grim Reaper and Incarceration, I definitely had a big input on some big drum parts. Like when we first started writing Grim Reaper as like a song, I was just jamming on the toms mainly. And when I found a beat I liked, Scott picked up on it and played his bass line to it. And it's like, oh, we got this cool start right here. That could be a cool intro to the whole EP even.
Yeah.
With Incarceration, that big drum fill solo thing, I actually took multiple takes of just whatever crazy stuff I could come up with, and I just took the pieces I liked and put them together and then learned it again as it was. Because the trick to that, they told me they wanted something crazy, but I realized drumming as fast as I can really won't cut it. It just sounds like a fast drummer and not a pocket drummer. So I decided to just play something completely out of the feel of it, but it catch it at the end. I think the that's something that like a lot of like drummers would do in their drum sheds or whatever. They would just play crazy stuff over like
Over like In My Life by the Beatles.
right.
Yeah.
And then they would still catch it on the beat.
It's a lot of work. So you really did you write any of these then? Or was
Yeah,
you were
well, I wrote the
Saint
drum-
Anger
I
was
wrote-
you?
Oh, he's talking about like what's your designated song.
That's
Yeah.
why I had a-
Oh. He doesn't like talking about that one because we screwed it up.
yeah. There's
Oh, really?
There's an odd number of songs, right, on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, pity. But I do know this about any songs you write because we recorded this and released it in a short amount of time. I didn't get to know these songs as well as all my other songs. Therefore, like certain parts aren't as I don't know what the word is. I don't necessarily play it exactly the same live because by the time I finally come up with a full part, I would like to have it recorded. It's already
Yeah.
too late. In this case,
You like to optimize.
yeah, I like to let it come organically. But for the most part, I'm actually happy with how the EP sounded. I think there may be like a kick pattern or two I would have done differently, but honestly, I'm happy how this EP sounded.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, as an artist, you'll always look at your past work and wish you could go back and do it a little bit better.
Yeah. No, I've heard actually a lot of the people I talked to have said that before when I ask about, if you did an album or an EP, 3-5 years ago, how do you look at it now? And it's, I never ask the question because I already know the answer. Everybody's already always, so I hear people ask all the time. They're like, well, what's your favorite album out of all the ones you've done? And obviously for most people, it's going to be the one that they just recently did because they just got done putting all those efforts in that. And then, yes, most artists are very critical of themselves. So they look back at their other stuff and say, wow, I should have done this, or I could have done this. But that's part of the growing process. That's part of you guys as a band and as individuals, slowly, creating your music over and over again and writing new stuff. It's the development, and that's natural. So you're always going to have that. Mr. McRib, which song is yours?
That would be Cyberocracy. Now, like that one's definitely it definitely stands out. And I mean, just in general, all three of the songs that I contributed to the EP, I kind of went out of my way to try to do something that we didn't normally do. And to say that like I already know like the EP already as it is comes off as a pretty alternative metal like kind of release, and I don't mind that at all. It's to say that with that being said, the ones I did, like I kind of wanted, I was like, oh hey, I kind of like Mr. Bungle, Dillinger Escape Plan. Let me try to do a song like that.
Yeah.
And that was one of them. I was like, hey, like I love the shit out of Deftones. Let me try to do a song like that. And that was another one. And then it was, hey, industrial metal's pretty fucking cool. Let me try that. And then that was Cyberocracy.
Okay.
It's to say that that was kind of the aim. It went down to like these guys. Well, he over here, like X in particular, kind of like got it. Like it got the kind of appeal of it as we were going through and jamming it. So it became pretty clear that it was gonna be the one that we chose, to be honest.
Yeah. Everybody just kind of
Even with that being said, like yeah, no, totally. And I mean, it's one that like it's really a hard one to do live with that in mind because of the extra stuff going on around it with the synths, with the with the drums that were like kind of purposely written electronically. Sorry, Daniel. Point being, like they were kind of purposely written like with playability, not that much in mind.
That's okay.
With a person in mind.
Yeah,
That's why we don't play it live, right?
Yeah, and then,
We tried it one time.
yeah. I mean, it's the main thing is
No, I
like
think
some
we play it live.
songs are definitely great on recordings as they are, and that's just what it is.
Yeah.
That's the only song of the EP I didn't change any drums on. I think they sounded fine. I got what they were going for. I didn't want to change the drums for that.
So when you play live, you just put the drum machine on and Daniel goes out and smokes a cigarette or something
Actually,
like that.
yeah.
I mean, we didn't when we did that, he just kind of played what we had, and it if that we did that for the release show, and for reasons outside of just that, it didn't really work that well. But you know, if you start practicing a song that you're going to play for a show, like starting 3 weeks beforehand, you can only imagine how it's going to go. But such is the way.
Yeah, if you look really closely, you could see Daniel on his phone in the middle of that whole song.
Yeah, but no, like I was pretty happy with the arrangement, and these guys definitely contributed to it. I mean, Leyland's like freaking keyboard solo, and it's really cool.
Yeah,
I'd say like the guitars came out really good. I'm happy with the tones that we got out of it, because X mixed that one, and like the pedal tones he got out of my bass, I'm super happy with them.
So, I do have to say I really liked the origin. So after the keyboard solo, like that little melody thing I'm doing, its entire origin was, hey, Leyland, what if we ran your keyboard through your guitar pedal board? Let's turn on all your reverb pedals. Let's throw on chorus and an overdrive and see what the fuck happens.
Yeah.
We got this like industrial banshee wail sounding. They were like, I don't know what we're going to use it for, but that tone is dope.
yeah.
Well, it was like, you got it, and your solo was supposed to be like secluded to just that one part of the song, and because of all that reverb, you couldn't stop the thing from making noise into the last chorus. So you were still playing it in the chorus, and for some reason, rather than being like, Leyland, just turn it up, we were like, what was that?
Play that again.
Do that.
Do that again. Do that.
What was that melody you just did? Oh, this one.
That's funny. What about live? Because you guys, you've done a lot of shows lately. You did a tour. You have no fucking idea how pissed off I am that I missed that show here in Phoenix. I was furious. I ended up getting stuck somewhere and I couldn't get out of it. But I'm.
No, it happens, man. And to be honest, like that wasn't. I mean, that's not gonna be the only time we're gonna be in the area. We'll be back. It's just gonna be a matter of putting it together in a way that kind of is suitable with like the new touring environment. And I mean, just in general, like even it's like COVID has its own concerns, but now like a bigger concern is, oh, hey, you know, gas is $6 a gallon in our state. And it's like, I went to Oklahoma last weekend because my girlfriend graduated, and we drove through there. Gas was like, you know, $1.90, $2 a gallon, and now it's almost at $4. You know, it's just to say, like, there's a lot of things we're gonna have to consider with the next time you go on the road. And I mean, I already know that's gonna. I mean, I don't even know if it's gonna be smart to go with gas being what it is now, unless we can secure enough ahead of time to make it work. But that's honestly going to be a very important question going into the future, because honestly a lot of we learned a lot of lessons on that recent tour. And even with it, and the main thing I'd still say is, like, you know, I still wouldn't not do it, but it was probably one of the hardest tours you've ever done.
Can we all just collectively as a people assassinate big oil? Only little oil allowed.
Right.
Let me go get my kit.
What?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of messy. And inflation's certainly not helping it either. But you know, it's multiple things.
That tour though, that was a hell story. God.
Why? Just a lot of issues.
So you remember the Omicron thing that happened? Like, we had this tour planned out like 6 months ahead of time, and how exactly were we supposed to know that if you like looked at the graph within the month when we were going to be on tour, that COVID was going to go up like this, stay at the highest it's ever been for the entirety of our tour, and then shoot right back down as quickly as it came up? It was like the moment we went on tour, the virus was like, yo, these guys going on tour? So fuck them. And then just nothing but dead shows for a week. And then the moment we get back home, like, oh, they made it back home. All right, turn COVID off now. We don't need it anymore.
I mean, even with that, like, there was light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, frankly, we played the best LA show we've ever played. So
Yeah.
that was a positive out of that. And alongside of that, you know, it was just in general good to get back out to people who hadn't seen us in a while and people who had never seen us before. It's like, honestly, the main thing I'd say is, I mean, and I kind of feel like I'm just in general pretty easy to please. But it's like, you know, I went out, I played shows, I didn't have a terrible time. That's the way I put it.
Well, yeah, because he's easy to please, as he said.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also Leyland got caught by the FBI.
Yeah, no, it's just, I mean, I would say the thing that was challenging about that too was like, that was a run that we did as a 3-piece, and it was, let's say, like, you know, we already knew he wasn't going to be able to make it. Well, Leyland was not going to be able to make it. We had a fill-in ready to go, and he'd been practicing all the stuff, and he was like really excited to go do it.
Yeah, we were 1 week away from doing it.
And freaking like legitimately like less than a week before, he's like, yo, my dad got COVID. I'm sorry, guys. Like, I've been exposed. And with what that was, I mean, that, of course, that meant we all got exposed too, but we ended up being okay.
Yeah.
Just to say that it meant that we had to do it as a 3-piece, which was challenging, but it was a new experience too. It's kind of like how I kind of feel like people on that tour got an experience that I kind of personally hope they don't get again, but not because it's a bad thing, but because it was more of a stripped back us, because with one less guitarist, without the keyboards, it was different. And it was to say, it'd be like, you know, I'd say it'd be like if Metallica went on tour without Kirk Hammett, for example. Yeah. They were just like 3-piece, like, fuck it, like, oh, he's got cancer, he can't do it, guys, and we don't have a fill-in. Like, that's what
Metallica will always have a fill-in, is the thing.
Theoretically.
Ask any member in the audience, hey, who here knows how to play any of these songs on guitar?
They like every show they've ever played.
Keyword is in theory.
Yeah.
Because I can acknowledge that they're never not going to be without any member they need to fill in for.
Yeah.
But such is the way.
Well,
they're the dream though. They're the dream.
That's like Green Day. Green Day at all their shows, they would pull kids up from the audience. They'd be like, "Hey, who knows how to play guitar? Who knows how to?" And they would
play chords.
And they would throw them on, and it would be the simplest songs, obviously, because it's not like Green Day's complex. But
yeah,
it was always fun to see. I mean, if you were a kid, 14 or 15 years old, and you could say that you were on the stage for a Green Day show playing that, I mean, that's what you guys could have done. You could have had guest guitars from the audience. Just teach them real quick.
If only our songs were like Green Day songs, you know?
Yeah, no, like whoever comes up on stage with us is not gonna be.
It's not gonna be a great.
They're not gonna be Green Day. Even worse, they're not gonna avoid me bumping into them or him doing his own shit, or, you know, just in general the crowd. It's like, that's just it. It's not.
You know that thing whenever you like play Guitar Hero and you're like trying your best to play like Through the Fire and Flames, and then you get booed for missing like 10 notes too quickly. That's like what their experience would be if it was with us. It's just like, how do we take a kid out there who's really into us and then just completely shoot their like humiliation to tatters right on stage?
Yeah, I don't think
like,
anybody could do
guess
it.
what? We're playing The Night the Sky Ray Nukes. Keep up.
Good luck.
Yeah, that would be a lot of hard
Let's
work.
teach you about disappointment.
However, there are people who do know how to actually play like legit full through Gurschach songs, and that was something that we found out a little bit too late before we left for the tour, was that in spite of the fact that there was less than a week for us to get out there, and we saw that as an unrealistic amount of time to prepare for any of the guitars, the moment we made the announcement that Leyland was not going to be joining us, we actually got hit up by several guitarists who were like, dude, I already know your guys' songs. Why didn't you ask me to go with you?
Oh,
And
really?
I don't think we ever knew until that point that there's people that just learned our songs and stuff that just never told us.
So this
That
isn't
was
just local people, right? You're talking about just fans in general?
Yeah.
There's that Rocksmith dude in like France who could play all our shit. And remember,
He could play anybody's shit.
yeah.
Yeah.
How?
And
Okay.
to see that dude shred through Purist was actually pretty cool.
I mean, you guys are still a pretty young band. You have 2 EPs. I mean, you've been together for a little while, but that's got to make you feel pretty good when all of a sudden these people reach out and say, "Hey, I've been listening to your songs and I've been trying to learn them on guitar." I mean, that's like if you that's like you guys when you first started out and you pulled out, whatever album, System of the Down or Metallica or anything like that. They just turned the tables on you. How does that feel?
Honestly, pretty nice. Like,
I still don't really even process that. It still to me feels like that's not a thing that happens. I don't know how to explain it.
I just say, like, they always say that imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. In that regard, somebody going through their stuff. I mean, who knows? Maybe they'll be like 100% on. Maybe there's little nuances that they don't quite see, and that's just what is special about us in a lineup doing our songs. But
Hell, they might be better than us.
that's a possibility too. That's definitely a possibility.
Yeah. talking about the touring. So is that something you've been kind of looking into, as a more extensive tour? Have you guys been approached or anything?
Well, we've had a couple things. I mean, honestly,
There's some stuff we can't really talk about just yet.
yeah, there's some stuff we can't talk about just yet. There's one thing I'll say right now. I just got an endorsement, so that's pretty cool. But
Nice.
outside of that, that's just kind of like, the path forward. Like, honestly, it feels pretty nice, but that's just it.
Yeah.
Press on that'll come in the future. I just gotta get the amp when he's back ordered for one, and two, gotta take all the fun photos and do the silly shit with it. Very excited though. Very excited. I'm going to NAMM again. It's fun. So are these two.
Well, I mean, more points is you guys are self-managed. Now you're self-produced. That's got to make you feel pretty good at where you're at right now, and how much you guys are out there. I mean, it's not easy. You're what, at least two, are all of you students, or just two of you?
Well,
Three of us.
Yeah, three of the four of us. Like, I finished college in 2015. I refuse to go back unless my employer pays me to. But like, honestly, like, well, two of them are working towards their 4 years, and that's what you're doing, right, Daniel?
Not 4 years.
Well, he's doing something new. I know you're doing
Just
your.
say yes.
It's to say, like, they're doing, like, two of them are doing regular, like, undergrad, like Leyland in his law school, like, post grad, and I'm just like, I don't know, I've been done for a minute. I've been hitting the jobs and doing all that stuff, and
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's to say, like, we're still fairly young. I mean, honestly, I'm not gonna be young anymore this year, because I'm gonna be hitting the dirty 30 this year, which still processing that, but such is the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got Mr. Too Cool for School here.
Yep.
But you have been playing a lot of festivals, right? That you have been kind of bouncing around your
Oh,
area.
now there's something we can talk about.
Yep. No, like, it's been pretty good in that regard. Like, we're doing Spring Meltdown in Tahoe this year. I've been trying to get us on that for 5 years. I'm glad it finally happened, and I'm real excited for that. That's kind of like, a 3-day like buddy fest out there. Lots of cool bands, lots of cool people.
You have no idea how many hand jobs Scotty has had to give to get on that spot.
I actually didn't have to give any.
Oh, dude, don't admit that it was worse than hand jobs.
We gave you a way out, Scott.
Well, I'm a man never blows a dude and says anything.
digging deeper. Digging deep.
But outside of that, obviously, outside of that, we've got Dazed on the Green in September, which is really cool. I mean, that was originally going to be last weekend, and it got pushed back because, county sheriffs are county sheriffs. But essentially, it's a big, like, 2-day, like, cannabis festival with music, and we're going to be opening for the Dead Kennedys and Dwarves that day, which I'm super excited for.
Really?
The original bill included municipal waste. When the date moved, they couldn't do it anymore. So now Hatriot's playing instead of them, which is still pretty cool. But
Man, it had to like actually earn that spot, which was weird.
Dude, like that really surprised me, because they came back on like less than an hour into the competition. Like, it was like a fan vote thing, right? And so
Yeah.
Scoundrel out of the Fresno area was like way ahead for a long time, because that's a very tight knit scene that all of them are like, oh, hey, that's a Fresno band, I'll support you.
Yeah.
And so Hatriot just pulled out all the stops, and frickin' they pulled ahead, like, less than an hour into the competition, which I'm sure Scoundrel's quite mad at them for that. But
Yeah.
at the same time, they won. Good job.
Yeah. Huh.
But all in all, though, that's gonna be a cool fest. I'm pretty sure that the Sunday headliner is still. I think the Sunday headliner is still like Wiz Khalifa or Ice Cube. So it's kind of neat to have a good spread of different acts. And then there's a secret like classic rock stage they can't say anything about yet, but cool little fest, and we're gonna do hopefully some other ones before the year ends. That's our current trajectories. We want to get out there. We got this EP. We have sold more than half of our original pressing of it, so it's going good. It's
Nice.
just to say, like, a lot of this is just gonna continue to funnel into the next big thing from us, which is gonna be our album too.
So you want to do an LP, right?
Well, so to clarify for the discography sense, we did our Beautiful Nightmares EP in 2015. Dark Matter was our full-length album in 2017.
Yeah.
And then Hypnotic Disasters was early this year. And we've been working on our second full-length album. And the EP was kind of something that we did while there were a various set of challenges that were preventing the second album from getting done.
Okay. And this,
And I mean, I'll just straight up say I was one of those challenges, but you know.
The main challenge.
so are you guys going to stay self-produced? You're not going to, you liked this EP. Are you going to continue to do it that way? Or are you still going to try to seek some engineers and production?
No, we are working with Brian Altman of Altman Studios.
Yes, essentially, it's kind of like a spread, because in some realm, like, there's a good portion of it that we're able to do at home, and that's to say that in terms of, like, I finished my bass parts, sans a couple revisions before the end of the year last year, and with that being said, like, a little over half of it I was able to do at home, and the rest of it I did in the studio. And outside of that, I mean, these guys are working on guitars, Leyland's working on keys, and like it's kind of a spreading, because obviously you can't really do acoustic drums outside of a studio unless you're loaded. And
And vocals are really hard to do with like anything less than a really stellar mic.
Yeah, that too. Well, we're not there yet, but yeah.
That's stuff to work on.
But honestly though, I'm quite excited for that. It's gonna be peak Weird Us, and I'm pretty excited about that.
Nice.
Yeah, it's more it's like one of the things that's kind of interesting about it is that going from Dark Matter into Hypnotic Disasters into the second album is a bit more of a gradual shift than if it was to go from Dark Matter into the second album. So it's more like whatever you got on the EP, if it felt like it was different from Dark Matter anyway, then just imagine that the second album is going to go even further in that difference than basically just being the same thing we already did already.
Yeah. And you can see the difference in the albums, or here, I guess I should say. But yeah, no, I could tell. And that's kind of why I wanted you guys to each talk about each song a little bit, is because obviously there's different styles in each one. So there's a little bit of each of you in every one, which is cool. I hope the LP kind of comes out that way for you too.
Well, there's in general a lot more of me on the LP as it is, but yeah.
Yeah. But now, is this going to be something where everybody contributes a certain amount of songs again, or is this going to be a different approach with that?
Oh, the second album?
Yeah.
Well, the thing about that was that the second album was written before the EP was written. It was something that, I mean, it was something that, like, we had a clear goal of what we wanted, like the story we wanted to tell and the experience we wanted to have. And it's material that we've revised constantly to make them the best song they possibly can be.
Yeah, we were writing the songs for the second album back in 2015 when we were still in the middle of recording Beautiful Nightmares.
And that's just what's cool about it. It's cool to have these songs grow and mature and become something new. And like, I'm really excited because there's some songs on the record that are like legitimately gonna, like, metal fans are gonna eat the fuck up because they're like some of the heaviest shit we've ever written to date.
Gotcha.
And then at the same time, some of the songs on the record are going to be hard to classify as metal fully. So that's why it's going to be a neat, varied, diverse experience. That's why I'm really excited to see what people think and honestly how far it goes.
Yeah, there's definitely some singles in there for sure that like we felt works best as like live songs. So there's some songs on the second album are ones that are pretty much written with the stage in mind after all the stuff we learned works and what we actually can do well.
Yeah.
And the other flip side of that though is that certain people will listen to the record having not actually come to one of our shows because we have fans all around the world at this point. And for them, the record also kind of takes on a full concept story approach too. So it's more like kind of mixing in a lot of my interests in terms of writing film score soundtrack stuff. So you can actually get the sense that even though it's made up of like individual tracks, all of them sort of come together and have this full kind of story to tell as well. So you can hear it from each individual track that you like, but hearing it all the way through is also like the main focus of what we've been doing with it.
That sounds cool. I'm excited. I can't wait. When do you think you're going to be looking at release time?
Well, our hope is next year is to
Yeah.
say that the main thing that we want to ensure we do, especially this time around, is everything being ready, like having as much of the promotional material ready as possible. And alongside of that, I mean, we kind of want to vinyl press this one too.
Oh
It
yeah.
may not be the full record by next year, but we at least want to see that we have one song from it because a lot of it is going to be like very ambitious sort of kind of collaborative projects that are going into it. And we have several songs in mind that we want to have like videos and presses for.
Nice.
And there's not a whole lot I can really say about that stuff. There's some very confidentiality there.
Okay.
It went better than the last one.
Well, I'm excited for the vinyl side. Yeah, if you do vinyl, I will get one, and hopefully you will all sign it. So,
I mean, that's definitely the. I'm kind of personally. I mean, I'm definitely seeing the side of that argument. I mean, I have 2 vinyls now and a player that a friend gave me for free, and it's I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that like, you know, I kind of always knew that there's a quality and there's a standard with vinyl that like in a lot of ways can't be matched, but it was always the price point thing for me. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I've been doing better money wise, so I guess I couldn't be a little more bougie with my music, I guess.
well, it's for me. I mean, I collect vinyl. I'm a big fan of Record Store Day. I actually picked up this year a Motorhead album along with a couple others, Cypress Hill, a couple others. But I mean, it's, you know, if you get some original press stuff, it can be worth some money. And there's some vinyl from, you know, like Suicidal Records, you know, Mike Murr's label. I have a compilation called Welcome to Venice, which was one of the first albums that they did off of the Suicidal label. And it has, I don't know if you know who XL is. There was also a band at the time called Beowulf. And then there's a Suicidal song on there called Look Up that you can't find anywhere else. It's not recorded on any other album, any other piece of material. And this one's out of production. So I mean, that for me, it's finding the rarities, you know, and watching the value of them, that kind of thing. So I mean, but for me, it's always kind of cool just to throw some vinyl on and kick back and listen to an album where you don't have to, you know, pause and create a playlist and all that kind of stuff. There's some nostalgia to it. So it's preference, whatever it is. But yeah, if you guys do vinyl, I'm down. I'm hardcore down. I'm already looking at your t-shirts. So I've just been behind on some of that stuff. So
well, hey man, I mean, in that regard, for you and for other people listening at home, just in general, because we didn't really introduce ourselves as that, I'd just say
Just spit it out. Buy our shirts.
we are Gurschach, buy our shirts.
buy our shirts.
But but yeah, no, like that's definitely that same vinyl side is definitely something I've thought about, and that's just I already know like that's definitely, if we're planning on doing that, like we're gonna have to have that stuff ready, more than 6 months ahead of our projected release date, but to come in on time. That's the thing I've been hearing from bands that I know in the area that are putting out vinyls, that stuff just takes a while because of how much demand there is for it. And that's
Yeah.
and I definitely get the rarity side of it too. That's a cool thing to like have a special piece of music history. I mean, even with like some of my CDs, I have some rare finds that like I was like, oh, I never would have found these anywhere else. Like,
Yeah.
and that's what's pretty.
Yeah.
It's definitely pretty fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a fun concept to I mean, going to like record swap meets and stuff like that. I'm not that much into it, but I mean, I still contribute by whatever I can. Let's talk about you guys a little bit. X, I have a question for you. If you remember the last time we spoke, we spent a lot of time on a certain subject, so I'm just going to flat out ask, what was your opinion on the newest Matrix?
The one that I didn't see yet?
You haven't seen it?
No, I've heard nothing good about it.
Okay.
I mean, the only positive I could say is like one of the folks who helped shoot one of our music videos was on the cast and crew of it, which is really fucking cool. But we couldn't say that until it was already out.
I mean, didn't that movie come out like at the same time as the Spider-Man movie or some shit?
Yeah,
like,
I think right
it was holiday this last year. It was.
Yeah, it was like you were either going to see the new Spider-Man movie or you were going to see like fucking Matrix. And it was like everybody obviously chose Spider-Man there. That's a movie I could talk about, the Spider-Man one. But
Did you
it's
like it?
The Spider-Man movie,
Yeah.
it was the best Spider-Man movie.
That
I actually did a whole paper on that one. But it was like, for Marvel, it was kind of interesting because to a certain degree, I think you could say in a certain aspect it actually topped Endgame. It's to say that Endgame did the whole time travel thing, but you didn't get to see much of the multiverse in the Endgame movie.
Yeah.
So now that that's been introduced, it kind of just opens up even more possibilities. Like Endgame was always that meme of like, oh, the biggest crossover of all time. But like you realize that's just a crossover of people who all have been like signed into this contract for Marvel and stuff. Spider-Man comes along and then has a crossover with like different eras of Spider-Man with like different actors who like played freaking Green Goblin and like Dr. Octopus. It's from like a completely different director.
They brought back everybody and they did it in a great fashion. I mean, it's almost like watching the Karate Kid show, where Ralph Macchio's brought back almost everybody from the movie series. But no, you're absolutely right. I think the concept and being able to grab all those people, Tobey Maguire, the kid from whatever the other one was, I didn't like that series. I Tobey Maguire and the one that's on now and the one that's been coming out now. But yeah, Willem Dafoe is in it. I mean, all these people that have been in the past. It's kind of, I thought it was a really cool concept. I fully agree. Some of the Avengers movies didn't necessarily do it for me either. So I think this one, you're right, topped it off pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, what would you really say is a more ambitious crossover in that case? I feel like actually having the balls to bring certain actors out of retirement in to just do this movie again is like something that maybe there's not as many people as Endgame had, but they're like, with how much some of those actors are worth, it might as well be as many.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, no, like the only thing I'll say about that is I wish we got a little bit of Bully McGuire. That's the only thing that like it didn't even have
See,
to
I
be,
was
you
trying.
know.
I was trying to be coy about
You know,
that.
the main thing I'd say is like it didn't even have to be like, you know, him saying a mean thing. If he just did like a little dance a little bit, I was like, oh, there it is, you know.
Yeah, you know, on top of having to get like Tobey Maguire paid for it, they had to also pay for the rights to that song again.
I mean, if
Yeah.
it's not Highway to Hell, it's not as bad. Freaking, I saw that freaking statistic for that song, like how expensive it is and how many people do it. That's crazy, you know.
Yeah, I actually just saw Megamind for the first time. I'm like, oh my god, this movie's from 2010 and they're playing AC/DC. Wasn't that when Iron Man was like the biggest thing?
Yeah.
Like, that's all Tony Stark's music, you fuck.
Hey, different subject. One of the things that I didn't ask you guys last time, who is doing all your artwork?
So it's actually an elementary school friend of mine by the name NJD. It was kind of interesting because when we were doing Beautiful Nightmares, we kind of just went to a random sort of tagged Facebook group that was doing artwork in like a very big conglomerate, kind of like we don't really care who you are kind of way. And it turned out pretty good. It was very overpriced at the time. But along with releasing that, this guy NJD, he kind of hit me up back then saying that, you know, he was really starving for work and he really wanted something that he could do to prove that he like can be an artist and stuff. And I was just shocked that he even like approached me because I hadn't actually heard from him in a long time. But when it happened, like we already had the artwork made for the current release that we were going to do. So I was like, I mean, you can make like some CD art for us or something. And he did that. Then we kind of had our next release and I'm like, you know, he did hit me up. I should ask him about that. And he made the cover for Dark Matter for us.
Okay.
And that was kind of when I realized he's not quite the same as if you were to just hit up some random, you know, conglomerate art website or group. Because I kind of found from that project that because he like understands my vision and because we were like close for a bit, I could actually ask him to go further with certain things than I would anyone else. Where like if I was to say, hey, maybe throw this thing in there, hey, add this thing too, like they would be like, all right, that's going to be another $100 for every stupid thing you come up with.
Right.
For him though, like he's really cool about it and he knows like you know, whatever we're doing, like we know what we're talking about. We know we have an idea in mind and we're not just throwing crap at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Right. He did some
so
cool
yeah,
work.
NJD, really good artist, especially since Dark Matter. Like he honestly, like every now and then we'll talk about it and he's be like, bruh, I wish I could go back and redo the cover for Dark Matter because it is ass compared to what I can do now. And I'm like, hey, you're telling me, dude, like the music on that album, like let's talk about that. We could do that over again.
Right. Well, we just talked about that. An artist kind of goes back to their previous work and wants to they want to tweak it, but that's part of the growing process.
For me, I think that's what you do once you have no more new stuff in you and you're struggling to like put out in the next record. For me, like
you're in a bad contract.
Yeah, don't fucking say that. God damn it, Scotty.
That's what everybody does. That's why greatest hits albums exist.
That's what I was going to say.
I see. I didn't say anything. Nothing happened.
No, yeah.
I'm gonna take another swig.
Your Honor, I would like that stricken from the record, please.
Objection, hearsay.
You all need to hire new counsel. Fuck this.
Objection, hearsay. Okay, so
Leyland's like Leyland's like, I am no longer going to be the only guy that takes shit.
He says that every time, though. And you know what happens, right? He takes shit.
Yeah.
There's the toilet, all the shit.
There's the toilet. Okay, so, but what I'm saying is, I do believe in, though, it's that I think if you have the energy to go back and redo one of your albums, that exact same energy, I think, is better put making something new.
Right.
And for me, like the idea is that progress should never stop. There's not really a good reason if you have, the moxie to even put yourself into the studio in the first place, that you should be doing anything other than like trying to move forward. Because I won't doubt that there might be a point where that happens. And when it does, I'm not going to shame it either. I would say that's just not for me right now. Right
Yeah.
now, I still am like haunted by all the thoughts in the songs that I haven't been able to put out there yet. And that's always the thing. You can always dream it. You can always imagine what you would like to do. And the reality is that actually making that stuff happen is always going to be a lot harder than thinking about doing it. So to actually do any of that takes a lot of effort. And for me to like put that much effort into something we've already done feels like kind of going backwards.
Yeah, no, I agree. So there's not going to be a Gurschach remastered greatest hits album. I got it.
Not in the foreseeable future.
I mean, the thing that I'd offer as a counterpoint to that is that the thing I'd say is like, on one hand, if I'm talking about, Exodus redoing like Bonded by Blood with Rob Dukes, like that's just, them doing their album they peaked on again with a new singer, and that's its own thing.
Yeah.
That's not what I was going to say. It's like, I personally feel like I like it when an artist does a song again because like they're doing something new with it. I mean, the examples I'd say with that is,
see, this guy's a big Megadeth fan.
Oh.
See, the thing is that was only one of the examples I was going to say.
I was going to just get it out of the way. It's
Megadeth.
Yeah.
Well, it's not just Megadeth though. Like I like that. I'm a really big fan of Devin Townsend, for example.
Okay.
As to say that in that regard, he has, and on a couple of his releases, he's redone songs from like previous albums he did.
Yeah.
But like, it's just like that's the one song he does. As to say like it's not like, oh, this is a re-recording of the whole album. It's like, oh, I can do this song but better.
I've heard that Devin Townsend is like a manic perfectionist.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. I mean, honestly, dude's bipolar as fuck. But point being of that is that when I look at him doing he did Kingdom again on Epic Loud, which was the originally from his Physicist record, and to say like him doing like hearing him do that and like do an actually like way better job than how he did it back then is pretty cool. But it's like, if it's a one song thing, that's its own thing. I mean, honestly, I'd say like, I feel like with re-recordings, there has to be a purpose more so than anything else. And outside of the stricken from the record reason that I did not say at all, I feel like
redacted.
But it's to say like, I mean, bring it to like his obvious example, like, Megadeth doing a Tour Le Monde on United Abominations was pretty cool.
Okay. It's good points. No, you're absolutely right.
For me, I think it's Testament. I like what Testament did when they were redoing their stuff, because they didn't make it so that the old recordings were now made unavailable to you. They just did a new record that included old songs re-recorded in modern technology.
Yeah.
And they didn't even do it because they were like, we don't like the way we did our old songs. They did it because they're like, a lot of this stuff is going to end up on Guitar Hero or Rock Band or Rocksmith someday because we keep getting asked about that. Yeah. And we lost all of the stems for those old songs, so we're just going to make them again. So I'm like, that, you can't really argue with a point like that. That's a very good reason to do it.
That is true. Guys, I am so, I mean, it took forever to get to today. We went back, I don't know how much Scotty was telling you guys, but we probably went back and forth for about 10 or 12 different days to try to get this done. But I'm so glad I finally got to talk to you guys again. I'm sorry Matt wasn't here, but I can't
at this
wait.
point, just we gotta do it. Like, it doesn't matter what's in our way now.
Listen,
no, it
if
does.
It has to be a fucking phone call over FaceTime. I'll fucking do it.
Yeah. If I'm sitting in a parking lot just holding my phone up to my face, I'll take it. I'll do it.
I will run down little school children to get this damn internet.
I honestly, I mean, overpopulation's a serious problem. I think that that's actually a good thing if he does that.